Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to the show. Daver here. And don't you forget, elbow drop that like button, power bomb that subscribe button, and leave a little comment. We want to know what you're thinking. Welcome,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Welcome to Retro View, where we're going to be reviewing Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship, as it was known at WrestleMania 39 Night 1. Oh, there's so many caveats to throw in there, but this was my choice because this is one of my favorite matches I've ever seen. I would say I got to watch it live. I absolutely love it. And Dave was talking about not seeing a Charlotte Flair match, and he hadn't really seen a good Rhea Ripley match or like a really good Rhea Ripley match. So I was like, oh, let's do this. And then I was kind of thinking about it just before we started. I was like, man, I must really like WrestleMania 39 if I've only done like what, 3 or 4 of these retro views, and I picked the same show twice. Like, man, I must really like it. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about it. I'll do the play-by-play, but first off, before we get through into that, there was a little local wrestling show that Chad and Dave went to. So why don't you guys talk about it for a little bit?
Prestige. 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 Oh, man. What a fun little company. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff happened. I guess some of the biggest names they had for the show for the evening was, would they have Jake something?
Yeah.
I heard he was a
Impromptu
surprise.
match. Yep, he was a surprise. Let's see, who'd they have?
The West
Slam
Coast guys, the tag team champs showed up.
Yeah, West Coast Pro Wrestling, I guess is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
They had a match. What's her name? Slamovich.
Oh, Mia Slamovich.
Yeah, dude, she's amazing. She had a match against
Kylie Ray.
Kylie Ray
And
and some indie girl that I've never seen before, but she was pretty good too. They had to shuffle some stuff around too because weather. There's like a big snowstorm in
Yeah,
Atlanta, and then
yeah,
fires
yeah.
in
Fires in
LA.
LA, like that's a major airport, and then a snowstorm in Georgia, that's another major airport. Like it's just a bad week to travel, unfortunately.
Yeah, Josh Alexander didn't make it. Calvin Tankman didn't make it. But yeah, it was great. Mike Santana
oof,
Oh,
had
that's
a
cool.
world championship match against Alan Angels, who's
Alan
been their
asshole.
been their champion for a little bit too long at this point.
I think I
But
saw him win it at the first one I
Yeah.
went to. It was that 4-way because it was Motor City Machine Guns. Look where they are now, and then Allen Angels, and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have a surprise fourth person." And I think I was like, "Oh, it'll be Nick Wayne," and it was. It was Nick
Yeah.
Wayne, local town hero. So that was really cool to see. I really wanted Nick Wayne to win it because I was like, "Oh, why not? He's the big name. He's awesome." But I was fine with Allen Angels because that was my first one at the time. But like, oh man, he's still it. Like, they gotta have someone who can take it off of him.
yeah, I thought it was going to be Santana. It would have been the perfect moment because the other two members of his faction, called the Noise,
Ooh.
Sinner and Saint, have been tag champs forever, and they dropped their titles to Amira and Jaden.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Dude, what a moment, dude.
Oh,
Amira she's gonna get signed, man. She's got like young Jordan Grace energy, right, Chad?
oh yeah. Yeah. She's incredible to watch. Like she's got the riz, as the kids would say. Like, yeah, and she like believably pulls off being a good power wrestler. Like it's incredible what she can do at such a what she's only been doing this for a couple of years. Like
Yeah,
amazing.
she was sweeping rings when we
Yeah.
first started going to Prestige. Now she's one of their tag champs. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's
Uh, yeah.
pretty kick ass.
Uh,
Hopefully she'll get signed somewhere, but not soon because we want to keep her in prestige.
mhm. We got a local guy, Drexel, had a hardcore, what would they call it? Devil's Playground
Yeah.
hardcore match, right? Dude, so they had one plain door with fluorescent light bulbs, light tubes on it. They had
Mhm.
another door with barbed wire, and then they had another door with aluminum cans that were cut in half and screwed onto the door. Tons of them.
Yeah,
Like, what?
that'll cut you right open. That like because like the only time I've ever gone unconscious had to do with a bottle of like a can of soda, right? And it's the dumbest story ever. Which is like you're telling me this, and I'm like, So I was like 7 years old, and I had a can of Diet Coke, and I just finished it, and I was home alone. I was like, I wonder what the can looks like on the inside. So I got a knife, cut it open, and I was like, well, that's lame. It's just a can, right? And I touched the metal like an idiot, and it cut my finger open, and I was like, oh no, blood, I gotta go get a Band-Aid. So I ran upstairs to my mom's bathroom and got into the medicine cabinet, and I looked at my hand, and I blinked, and I woke up 10 minutes later with my head hurting on the floor. And I was like, I guess I can't handle my own blood, but now I kind of can. But it was a funny. So you're saying all this, and I'm like, like see, I always have my like no-nos, right? Like, I don't like thumbtacks. I'm not a big fan of broken glass or chair shots to the head. I just got a new one.
Yeah, they had that. They had that. Staple guns,
Stable guns, I can like
unprotected
dollar
headshots.
oh.
Yeah,
It
dude,
sounds
it was
fun though. Sounds like a good time, especially like the way those industrial light tubes just crack
Yeah.
open and there's the little powder inside. It's like satisfying. I never want to get hit by one, but it's satisfying.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was very good.
C4 had probably easily a 4-star classic, though. That was an incredible match.
Yeah, I remember C4 really
C4.
liking them back in the day when I went. So I'm glad that they won the West Side or West Coast titles.
They didn't win.
Oh, I thought they did. Sorry.
C4 did not win. They right, Chad? They
No, they came damn close. But
Oh.
the surprise was they got him to put the belts up, and then
yeah, it was great. And the main event was Kevin Blackwood versus Tanaka, which I had never heard of Tanaka, but apparently he is a absolute legend. And yeah, like after the match, Blackwood won, but they're like, we gotta give this guy the praise he deserves. And the owner came out and said the same kind of stuff, and it was a treat to watch him wrestle.
yeah,
So.
always such good energy at those shows. They're really big into like inclusion and positivity and just getting hyped. So much yelling and screaming and chants is always a great time. It's like when the show ends, is like you look at the clock, you're like, holy crap, how did like 4 hours just go by in the blink of an eye?
Yeah.
Take note,
it
Tony.
was incredible.
Exactly.
Went by really quick. Even with an intermission, it went by quick.
They're pretty fun shows to go to. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not like every indie scene is going to be great, but this one is. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest area, try to come to at least our Prestige show. I think they go up to Seattle sometimes, right?
Yeah. They got California shows.
Oh,
yeah, Defy's up in Seattle, so but
more people live in California. So hey, Californians, come up for some wrestling. But anyways, speaking of California, look at that segue. Where did this WrestleMania take place? Oh yeah, Hollywood, baby. Could you tell? Could you tell that it was in Hollywood? I'm joking, but I'm not kidding. I think this is my favorite WrestleMania stage I've ever seen. I think it's like the gold and the red is beautiful, and it's like it's bombastic. It's a lot. Yeah. But you know what? I like that for only WrestleMania. I think it always works, and so I love this one.
The shape of that stadium, like the way the bowl is so gradual, like the crowd just looked intense. Like it was, probably one of the nicest settings I've seen for a Mania.
Mm-hmm. So it took place April 1st and 2nd of 2023. It was in Inglewood, California, at the SoFi Stadium. Night 1 had 67,303 people in attendance. Night 2 had 67,553 in attendance. Wow, that was a big 250 people difference. And then on to the match. This was the penultimate match of the night, if we don't count the Pat McAfee Miz nonsense, because we're just going to ignore that. By the way, so I was watching WWE. I just kind of had it the Peacock stream running while I was doing stuff, and it played that next segment. And I just read out the attendance, which was like 67,000, which is pretty good. I don't know why WWE lies about their attendance figures, because they said at Mania, we have 80,000 tickets sold. Like, why would, like, I don't know why they would just lie, because 67,000 is still a lot of people, but it's like, oh, 80,000, that's close to beating All In or whatever. So who cares? It's just petty nonsense. Anyways, so I say we start off strong. We got Rhea Ripley coming out. There's a fan in the front row, and he's holding like a Divas belt, and he's like, you win this, right? And the Rhea Ripley just does the suck it. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Charlotte Flair makes her entrance, and like, I was feeling it when she was coming out. I was like, I miss Charlotte, and I feel like I might regret that, but I really do miss Charlotte right now. She is like one of a kind. She's fantastic, and just the aura she has when she comes out, she's second to none. It's hard to beat her. I loved her outfit. She was coming out in the big regal coat. It's very nice. Anyways, start off strong. Charlotte Flair sends Rhea Ripley to the outside, and there's this really nice shot where it like does a close up in on Rhea Ripley's face, and then it slowly pans up to Charlotte Flair, and she's looking maniacally over her. And I was surprised, because I thought Kevin Dunn was still around at this time, because there wasn't like a million billion cuts an hour. Anyway, you don't even know about that much, Dave, do you? Or do you? So
No.
Kevin Dunn was the executive producer for WWE for like decades, right? He was Vince's right-hand man. And literally, there are like shots of Raw where it's 7 cuts in 10 seconds or something like that. Like 7 different camera shots in 10 seconds. It's like nauseating to watch. And so they fired him. And that's why all the production looks good now, is because he was just terrible. Like, it's just crazy how like he didn't get fired. I think he quit or retired or whatever. But like instantly everything looks better.
Yeah. I went from like being mid 90s MTV cut to like now it just looks like cinema. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, moving on, they go back and forth for a bit, and then Rhea Ripley had this nice spot where she like took Charlotte's place and threw it right into the bottom turnbuckle. I thought this match was like really brutal, especially for WWE terms, because they don't really get that brutal. But at least these two are really able to hit each other hard, and one of the reasons why I like this match so much. And then Charlotte Flair's chops, they're pretty good. They're not like the best in the biz, but they're pretty goddamn good. And like you were saying, Dave, I did enjoy the Ric Flair woos for this. It's like every once in a while, it's good. It's good for like chops, especially with Flair or Charlotte. But I don't want it too much, right? Like, I think every wrestling show ever, you leave and everybody's going, woo! So that's not my favorite, but it is what it is.
I wonder how much of the wrestling community doesn't know why you woo when
It's a
chops
good
occur.
point. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. They're just like, oh, it's the
That
thing to
you do
do.
it. Yeah.
How many people know that the what chant came from Steve Austin, right? Doing it to people to interrupt their promos, and now people still do it. Funny how time changes. Speaking how times change, God, that ring looked clean. There was nothing on it.
Right?
It's so like I was like, I can't look at it. It's so ugly now. I don't want to get used to such a clean, nice ring. Like, I thought it was bad with just the Prime logo, and then sometimes they'd have like 4 or 5 logos. Now there's like 10. It's just ugly. Anyways, moving on. There was a great spot where Charlotte was going up top and hits a big old crossbody, and then Rhea Ripley rolls through it and goes for a riptide, but then Charlotte counters it into a DDT. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And so if we're all saying Pac is the best at selling DDTs. He's number 1. Rhea Ripley's in the top 3.
Yeah.
And that's like, this might not have been the best moment because she sold him better than this. But even this one, like, she's so tall and it just looks like she's shoving all of her weight onto her head. Oh, it looks so great. And then Rhea Ripley jumped up right behind Charlotte and a great German from the middle rope. And then after that, Charlotte was able to counter with a natural selection, which is the one where like they're on all fours and she kind of like does like a flipping RKO onto them or like a flipping cutter. Chad, I've never liked this move. Do you agree with me, or is it like, do you like it?
Never really been into it. She went on a stretch where she kept finishing matches with it for a hot minute, and it was kind of pissing me off because I was like,
That was
I don't like it.
it's like the moneymaker where it's like, that's not a finisher. It's a fine move. I would say
Yeah.
it's better than like the moneymaker, and it's just like a nice transitional move, but it's not a finisher. By the way, I saw Monet wrestled a match, I think, for New Japan, and it looks like she has a new finisher where essentially she like lifts them up and she's holding them, right? So their face is that way, right? And she basically pulls them down and gives them a code breaker. Like, if you think about it like that, like brings the top of their body onto her knees. Please, for the love of God, do that. That's such a good finisher. Finish all your match. Like, you could pin every, you could like, that could be the one-winged angel and I'd be okay with it because it looks badass.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I promise you, I described it worse than it looks. It looks better than how I described it. It looked pretty sick. Anyways, back to Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. And then gosh, there's a lot of German suplexes in this match, and there was one in particular where Rhea really hit one and Flair took it head first.
Yeah.
And again, it's like stuff like that where I was like, oh, why are you taking these like head first? But it like made the match more intense because you're like, oh, they're trying to kill each other, they're trying to hurt each other. And then the video package beforehand, I would say, amps that up because this is a like rivalry that's kind of been going on for a couple years. And I like how Rhea Ripley like told it was like, oh, back in WrestleMania 36, you put me in my place. Were you watching WrestleMania 36 live, Chad, or did you skip it?
I don't think I watched that one live, no.
Because I wanted to know how you felt about Rhea getting beaten by Charlotte, because I know a lot of people hated it at the time. And I think Triple H said, like, oh, her moment will come. You just have to wait. And I feel like that was one of those, like, oh, it did come, and it was a lot better.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Nah,
Anyways,
I loved in that video package, too, because I totally forgot when Rhea was the NXT champ, when she was trying to bait Charlotte into using her Rumble win to cash in on her. I was like, oh, man, that was, like, really cool booking.
Yeah, it was interesting, you know, because I don't think anyone expected Charlotte to win it that year, and no one wanted her to go for either the Raw or SmackDown belt. So for her to go back to NXT and use the Rumble, I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Anyways, Charlotte Flair then hits a crazy top rope moonsault to the outside. I thought Will Ospreay was the only one that did those. Come on, guys, get it together. And then Rhea Ripley dodges. I like how the second the figure eight is like starting to be applied, she just like freaks out and does anything she can to get out of it because she's like in her head, well, I can't beat it if she arches up and locks it in. Basically, have you seen the figure eight, Dave? Okay, so you know.
Andrade did it.
Oh yeah, I forget about that guy. I forget that he was in AEW. But I liked how that was the theme of the match, is that Rhea Ripley won because Charlotte Flair could never get the figure eight on. I thought that was a pretty cool touch. And then so Rhea dodges two figure eights in a row, dodges a spear, and then hits a great headbutt for a riptide, but then Charlotte kicks out and the crowd just goes bananas at this point. Like the riptide must have been pretty protected at that point because for that big of a reaction, it was crazy. And then Flair hit a great spear. I forgot she does, but she does really good spears. And then I love the ending of this match where they're both down and they're hitting each other as hard as they can. And then Flair hits a big boot and goes for the figure eight, but Rhea Ripley, like, this is the closest she gets because she actually gets the figure four. But once again, Rhea Ripley gets right underneath. And then they go to the top rope right at the corner. And of course, there's the spot where she slams Charlotte's Flair, and like she just like stops moving. She doesn't move, and that's where again I was like, "Oh my god, she's out! They killed her! They killed her live on air!" And then an avalanche riptide, and for the win. So I love this match. One of my favorite women's matches of all time. But that's enough for me talking. How did you two feel about it?
Yeah, it was good to go down that memory lane. Like I remember enjoying it, but especially with the 2 match weekends, it's like hard to remember specifics about matches. And it always takes me a minute because I watch so much more AEW than WWE these days. It always takes me a minute to get into the style again, just because the pacing's slower. They're more into like showing you what happens in between moves and the facial expressions and telling the stories. But I always say, like, by the time like this second half of the match hit, I was like, yeah, I was into it. I loved when Charlotte took that one German. She got like the rug burn on her nose. It was like,
Yeah.
oh man, they are going for it.
It's
And
one of those bits where because they rarely bleed, even something like that is like, ooh, that's like you gotta shift the scales for WWE.
yeah, no, like the story, like from the video package on, was so well told. Like it was such a good story, and like both of them, like Charlotte actually having troubles be with the power game because she's usually the most powerful person. Like it was, and they were both throwing bombs the whole time, and then all of a sudden she'd do something like crazy, like a moonsault. You're like, what? Is there nothing she can't do? Like
Mm-hmm.
that moonsault's probably one of the prettiest ones ever. But I'm more curious how Dave felt, because I'm kind of like the happy-go-lucky guy. I could really enjoy both promotions. So
All right. Well, there's nothing I hated, nothing I didn't like about it. The first half of the match was a little slower, and second half it really picked up. They got more brutal, more violent, more desperate. Um, I really liked that Charlotte Flair's theme is kind of a modern like EDM version of like her dad's theme. It's pretty cool. Um, so this was the first ever female ref, female announcer, female timekeeper, and female wrestlers, correct?
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a real big deal. In the history of WrestleMania or all of WWE?
Mania.
Okay. Yeah, big deal. Good for that. I like that a lot. I like the crowd wooing. I mean, Ric Flair. I'm more Ric Flair generation uh kind of guy. So uh I guess I'm still a fan of Ric Flair. He's not too canceled.
You can appreciate his legacy, you can appreciate his past work. I don't need to see him anymore. That's how I feel,
yeah.
right? Like if someone still says Ric Flair is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, good for you. I haven't seen most of his work because I was born after it, right? My point is, it's current year. We don't need him anymore. Same with
No.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Let's just say at Raw, if that were Ric Flair, I don't think he would have been booed out of the building.
Yeah, I think for Hogan, it was like it was a shit storm. It was the politics, the racism, the tape, and then just the past of Hogan. Like it was everything. But with Flair, it's just like, oh, at the end of the day, it is. I hate saying it like this. It is just like one incident that we know of, allegedly for Flair.
Yeah.
And so that's not as widespread as Hogan. So I think I will agree with you, but I don't think people would have been like losing their minds to see Flair. They would have been like, "Oh, it's Flair," and he would go "woo" and drop his coat or whatever, and he'd leave. At least he wouldn't shill his crappy beer. He'd shill his
Yes.
crappy energy drink.
Yeah. Woo. Uh, but yeah, I like that Charlotte Flair's a chopper.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. She was, using the cool parts of her dad's gimmick. Let's see here. I like when Charlotte Flair went to kip up, she got booed. I guess
Mhm.
the crowd was firmly behind Rhea Ripley.
Oh
Was
yeah.
Charlotte Flair a heel?
No, Rhea Ripley was supposed to be the heel because this was like early Judgment Day, but they
Oh,
were still bad. They were all bad guys. It's just Rhea Ripley's really popular, and
Yeah.
she's been
yeah,
really popular.
And really,
yeah.
I feel like Charlotte Flair just kind of exists in Charlotte Flair land. Like she's kind of a tweener, like because she'll do either. But
Even if they try to present her as a face, she's still probably going to get booed. So she's going to end up working like a heel because she's not dumb enough to go, oh, I'm still a face champ. I'm going to work as a face champ. No, she's like, I'll switch it up in the match so it's an interesting match.
Yeah. I really liked big superplex from Ripley to Flair. Flair lands on her face for a near fall. Charlotte Flair ends up trying to charge Rhea Ripley and slams into the steel steps that kind of put a damper on her shoulder for the match. I liked that part. I like that Rhea Ripley German suplex to Flair. Dude, she landed bad. That was bad. Like, I don't know how she didn't get hurt from that.
Mm,
Like, they even did the replay and like
yeah,
slow mode it, dude. Like her neck was just like
yeah, again, like
all the way back.
I was watching this live. I was like they're killing Charlotte Flair. They're shooting on her, brother.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy. I really liked Rhea Ripley getting Flair in that inverted Texas Cloverleaf
Yeah.
submission. That was really cool. Flair got to the ropes though. But yeah, the ending, man. I know I love the Riptide, but I didn't know I could like it even more from the top rope.
yeah.
It was
She's had
Mm.
pretty
some pretty
brutal.
far funky ones throughout the years. Yeah, the one in Elimination Chamber too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was a good one.
she just goes crazy with him. But I
I I love Rhea Ripley. Like I this is probably my fourth match of hers I've seen or something by now. Like her a lot. I like Charlotte Flair. This is my first match of her I've ever seen, but I don't know. She just didn't really like jump out at me as someone who like, man, I really want to see her again. Uh, I
that's
I
fair.
I really like Liv Morgan. Um, that Raw match was really fun to watch. I like Liv Morgan a lot, like in general. Like I think what she's doing, you know, recently has been really cool. But yeah, it was a good match. The ending was good. Took a little bit to pick up for me, but yeah, I liked it.
I think that's fair. I'm glad you liked it though. I feel like this is kind of like Tony Storm and Mariah May. If you weren't watching the story, if you didn't at least have an idea of the storyline going into it, it probably wouldn't mean as much. The match is still entertaining, but it means more when you realize when Mariah kisses Nigel and you're like, "Way, that's all that work that Nigel did," and like when Rhea Ripley's smart enough to get out of all those figure eights, you're like, "Way, she's countering all the stuff," and like especially the ending where her winning, and you're like, "Oh, she finally gets her win back from Charlotte." It's all worth it. Um, it's a I respect your opinion. I like it. Not every time we do these, it's going to be like, "Oh, this is the greatest match ever." Blah 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 blah. But still a good match, and I still
Yeah,
love it. So it's I love your opinion. Thank you.
it was a
Uh,
high caliber match.
oh yeah, that's like I feel like this is why WWE I'll always love it, even after like Raw last week. Like just because Raw was bad last week doesn't mean I'm out because they could always have a match like that. They would have awful shows and years and awful shows. But then they'd be like WrestleMania 25. We'll just have Undertaker and Shawn Michaels have an instant classic that you'll never forget. Oopsie, I forgot. Like they're just that kind of a company. It's like the wrestlers are more important than the people behind them.
Yeah.
So I'll always love WWE, and matches like that are why. But speaking of WWE, when we did the triple threat, I don't remember going down the card. Did I go down the WrestleMania 39 card? Because I feel like I don't need to do it. Okay, I did.
I think so.
Okay, I don't need to go through it again then. I did it last time because again, this isn't the first time I've done a WrestleMania 39 show.
It's funny. It's funny because when I went to put this match on, I hit resume and it was Gunther holding up the championship at the end of the match. I'm like, oh wait a minute. This is the last time I watched this.
I should have told you it was on night 1 too. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. I went through the whole night too. I'm like, wait a minute. How do I even get to night 1? I had to like figure out how to go back and but yeah, I even took the time to watch Shane McMahon blow out his quads.
Classic.
Come on.
I was like, I gotta see this.
That's worth it. That's the last match he had.
Dude, he was like on a roll, man, punching, jabbing, jumps, boom. Oh my god, dude.
Remember when we were all convinced he was going to be the main guy in the Death Rider story? Like, I feel like that would have been better.
There's still time.
I was going to say, I feel like that would have been better than what we have now. But unless we have anything else to talk about with WWE, I'm dying to talk about AEW. But anything else you guys want to talk about?
Well, there's a little bit of controversy with the Saturday night's main event scheduling coming up. They are counter programming All In and potentially Double or Nothing, because Double or Nothing is always on Memorial Day weekend, and they have a Saturday night's main event on that Saturday.
Look, I'm so excited. I want a war, baby. I want both of the shows to put on like really high quality shows and like duke it out, right? Like I want to see The Rock versus Roman on one of those shows. I want to see, obviously we're going to get Kenny and Okada at All In, but like Double or Nothing last year, I'm going to be honest, Double or Nothing kind of sucked. I don't remember anything that I liked from the show. I'm sure if I looked back, I would find something. But like overall, I didn't really like the show. But goddamn, step it up this year. I want this Death Rider story wrapped up way before Double or Nothing. Way before. And we'll talk about that. I kind of think Tony Khan has to put this belt on Hobbs on Wednesday. Dude. Like for the love of God.
Because otherwise, like Darby's going away to do the Everest thing. He's not going to be back till like June or July.
We are not having this Death Rider story until July. Like we are not. So if you're not just gonna put the belt on Omega, just say F it. We need a new star, even though we don't, but apparently we do. So just have Hobbs beat him, inject some life into AEW right now. And if it fails, so what? You tried. You tried with Death Riders, and I think at this point it's failed. Especially since our hero of it, like, is it gonna be here for a while? And I think it's kind of crappy that you're finally, like, I get he wants to climb Mount Everest, but you're finally being considered for a world title like run, and now's the time you're gonna be flaky. Like, now's the time you're gonna not like. So I don't want to, like, it's his choice, but. It just bugs me. And so we need Hobbs to win. But we'll talk about Dynamite. But first, Collision. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it ended with, like, essentially Hobbs running out because it was like the learning tree and the Death Riders, and they're all over each other. Hobbs came out, he, like, barreled through Brian Keith and Yuta and Big Bill, and he no-sold a chair shot, and he scared the Death Riders. And typically I'm like, oh, the Death Riders look lame. But I'm like, no, like, this is the first time in a while where I'm like, no, Hobbs looks cool. It's not about the Death Riders. Flinch. Yeah.
He didn't even flinch.
It's not about the Death Riders being lame. It's about Hobbs being cool. And I know that, like, this is super, like, impulsive and reactionary. But, like, you got to do that at some point. You got to, just try. Please, for the love of God. So let's go through Dynamite, and then we'll go through Collision, which I'm so excited to talk about Collision on Saturday. So we have probably the main event, Jon Moxley versus Hobbs for the world title. It's not going to happen, but, like, it has to happen. I'm being serious at this point. If Moxley just beats Hobbs how he's beaten everyone lately, which is Wheeler Yuta interference and then boring choke out. I'm still gonna watch AEW, obviously, but like I'm gonna like lose all faith in anything that isn't like Omega, Takeshita, Swerve, like it's just gonna put a whole damper on the whole promotion. Speaking of Omega, Brian Cage and Kenny Omega, that one, like there's all this doom and gloom with the main event, and then it's like, Kenny Omega and Brian Cage, that'll be fun. Christian Cage and Hook, which I've been enjoying this feud. It hasn't been the best, but like, they got to do this match at some point. And then the women's casino gauntlet match. Gosh, I wish that young rookie Toni Storm can win it all.
Oh yeah.
And then Private Party and Mark Briscoe versus the Hurt Syndicate, which, you know what? I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a fun match. That's Shelton Benjamin, Mark Briscoe, Private Party, MVPs in ring debut.
MVP, yeah.
So I think Dynamite has a lot of chances to be a pretty good show. So like last week, I'm actually looking forward to Dynamite. But Collision.
Oh, how about Hangman Page and Daniels?
I'm not like that mad about it. Let's look at it this way, right? I've already mourned the death of Hangman's main event run with this current character, if that makes sense, right? And that's horrible to say, but like, it's not going to be anywhere near it was a while ago. Like, not even a while ago, but with like All Out and the lead up to All In. It's not going to be that good with Hangman unless they start like making it, like they got to put the title on him or something silly like that. So it's like, this isn't like the worst thing ever. And he did cut a pretty goddamn good promo against Daniels. So it's like, I'm fine with it. If Daniels beats Hangman, I'll stop watching AEW. There we go. There we go. But yeah, it'll be fine. I'm not that mad about it because there's something way worse. Okay? All right. So this is a big old 12-man tag team match announced for Collision. It's on the good guys team, Powerhouse Hobbs, the Outrunners, Cope, and FTR, right? On the bad guy team, it's the Learning Tree, Moxley, Yuta, and Claudio. So the Learning Tree and the Death Riders are teaming up.
Ooh.
And they coexist?
I'm not kidding. I'm not like, this is so awful because it's taking arguably the two least popular things in AEW right now, and they're putting them together, teaming them up, baby. And I heard a lot of other people really mad that Moxley and Jericho are teaming up because that makes no goddamn sense because they had a big old blood feud and they hate each other. So you know what? I agree. And wasn't Moxley's whole point talking about inflated egos and da-da-da-da-da? I know we're so far past that. It's not funny. I should stop bringing it up, but I am because I remember this whole stupid storyline was about egos. Apparently, Bryan Danielson has too much of an ego, but Jericho doesn't. Jericho passes the test. So,
He's
again,
a good egg.
I just can't believe it. Like, there's no way that they're like Tony Khan is he's always online. He knows what people are saying about his product. He's always on Twitter. So how can he see all this hate for the Death Riders and the Learning Tree and then put them together? I just don't get it. Like, I'm not saying he should be like, oh, people on Twitter don't like it, I guess I'll just pull the plug on it all. That's not what I'm saying, even though that is what I'm saying. But it's like, why would you do this? So,
two wrongs together don't make a right.
Exactly. So, oh shit. I may or may not have Monday Night Raw pulling up, and they're already starting with the Chad Gable match against an unknown luchador.
Ooh. Wonder who it could be.
I don't know. But that's all I wanted to talk about with Collision. I did watch a clip from Dax and Jericho, and it was embarrassingly bad. Like, it just looked awful. I can't even remember it, but Jericho, I kind of remember Jericho like swatted at the referee like that, and like it might have might have grazed here, but Bryce Rensburg sold it for like a minute. And so that allowed Jericho to hit like a crappy belt shot on Dax. Like it was like a solid 2 minutes of the finale, and every single move looked bad, and every single move was botched, and like everything was just awful. So
Hi guys.
crazy. Hi guys.
Oh. Yeah, he needs to kick off the retirement tour.
Why is Jeff Jarrett like again? So Jeff Jarrett's so old and so decrepit. They're only going to give him 1 year left, even though he's inarguably one of the most over people on AEW's roster. But Jericho can just stay around as long as he wants. It kills me inside.
Yeah. What does he have on Tony Khan?
Again, I think I said it before. We're at that point in the sitcom where Tony Khan needs to come clean, admit whatever dirt Jericho has on him, and we're all gonna go, you know what, Tony? Everyone makes mistakes, and we're all gonna move on.
Yeah.
Just stop booking Jericho, please. Because apparently, back on what you said, Dave, where Collision was good, I'll admit I didn't watch it. A lot of people said Cope and Big Bill was good. So, of course, Big Bill's good. Like, it's Big Bill.
Brian Alvarez loved the Powerhouse Hobbs shenanigans.
It made him look cool. Like, I know we say this a lot in AEW, but like, for some reason, they have a lot of cool wrestlers and they struggle to make them look cool. But like, it was like unironic. Like, I want to see that guy beat everyone. I want to see him win. So
it's like
That would
Brock
be cool.
Lesnar booking, right?
That would be
Yeah.
cool if they called the audible and like, you know what, we're going with Hobbs.
that's
Yeah.
that's why I'm like imploring. I know he's never gonna watch this, but that's why I'm like, just do it. Just try it out. Get behind Hobbs. Just have him run through everyone, right? And if it doesn't work, we get 2 months in and crowds have turned on Hobbs and they're booing him. Have Omega beat him. Just try. Have
Christian
Ospreay
cash
beat him.
in on him.
Yeah, Swerve can come back. I don't know. Like, there's so many things that we could be doing with this title right now. And it's like the point of the story is, oh, he put it in a briefcase so you missed the title. And it's like, no, I miss a good main event scene. You know what? Like, Swerve's title run wasn't the best in the world, but it was pretty damn good because he got to show up on Dynamite, talk a big game, talk down his opponent. Maybe they'd scuffle a little bit. They'd have a back and forth. Like, I really enjoyed Swerve's title run, and it might be because I really like the guy, but it was a pretty good showing for a new guy, and I would say overall it worked for him. Swerve's a huge star in AEW. So, like, that's kind of just like how to do it. How did Joe make Swerve in so little time? Like, and most of Swerve's uprising was with Hangman, but like Joe made Swerve the guy. So like, why can't Moxley make Hobbs the guy?
Right?
Yeah, they should do it. Pull the trigger on that. Yeah, I'm all for it. I like Hobbs. I think it's great. Oh,
That's gonna be okay. That'll be funny though. Like just like power rankings, right? Takeshita beat him at World's End, but now Hobbs beat Moxley and beat the whole Death Riders. Like I wouldn't be nitpicky, but it is funny to be like, oh, that means Takeshita's better. Let's get that title on him. Let's get that title on him.
Oh man. Yeah. Let's see. What kind of pay-per-views do we have coming up? The Rumble? Or PLEs?
There's a Saturday night main event, I think on the 25th of January, which they haven't announced anything for yet, I don't believe. And then there's Rumble February 1st. And then there's Grand Slam Australia February 15th. And then Revolution is March 6th.
Look at the memory on you.
I know. I look at this stuff so much. I hope I remember it. Oh, they let him say Zero Miedo.
Hell yeah.
He looks pretty cool. I mean, he still looks like Penta, and they're calling him Penta, but he looks pretty damn good.
Yeah. Good for him. I'll watch the YouTube clip.
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Uh, cool. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else I wanted to get to. That was a good match to review. Uh, yeah, Chandler, you really love that WrestleMania, huh?
Well, there's like it's not the only good match there. There's still Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Uso.
Oh hell yeah,
Um,
that was cathartic.
I genuinely say Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns is a perfect match, minus the last 30 seconds. And I'm gonna rewatch it to see if that theory's true, but I remember it was like the best match I had ever seen at that point. But then again, that was before I started watching AEW. And there was a lot of like other matches that I've seen. But anyways, there was that tag team match where Braun Strowman got pounced. It was awesome. There was Asuka and Bianca. Like there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, watched the last half of Cody versus Roman, and I was like, all right, I'm waiting for the rubber chicken.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to see.
Oh, it's afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, cool.
God, that looks so weird. They're showing up a little graphic of Penta. It looks so odd. Like it looks
Sure.
good, but I'm like, oh, it's so weird. Like, think about it when like Ricky Starks comes over and like Ray Fenix, and we get to see like the Lucha Bros. And we're like, what? Is this okay?
Yeah. 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 Penta can't be called Pentagon Junior, which is what he was in AAA forever. They still hold that
Mm-hmm.
trademark. So
I'm surprised they got away with it with Penta, but it's also like that's what everybody called him, so it works.
yeah. For a while they wanted it to be the full like Penta Zero Miedo, like that was his full name.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of like dropped off after a while.
It's a lot. It's a great catchphrase, but it's kind of like I know they're doing a lot with Cope right now that isn't great, but I'll be honest, I don't like how he's always the rated R superstar, Adam Copeland. Like, can he just be Adam Copeland? Like, I get they got the trademark for it, and that's neat, but he's literally always the rated R superstar, Adam Copeland. So, like, just and he's like, oh, I'll chop up the other part. I'll chop up
Yeah.
Cope.
Yeah. He should just be the NC-17 Cope.
X-rated Cope. They're like, what does that even mean? Who is this guy?
Is he getting an OnlyFans?
Ooh, I don't want to see that. I know he's in shape. I don't want to see that.
Edge looked weird in his entrance in WrestleMania 39 too, with that like mirror mask.
Oh,
on.
That was such a weird ass
ugly.
entrance because it said on the background it said Brood Edge. Like,
yeah, but why do you have a freaking mirror?
Because it's gothic.
Shiny mask on.
It's spooky.
It wasn't though.
It
wasn't.
Ooh, aren't you scared, Dave? Ooh.
Finn Balor looked cool.
And then he lost. See, that match was great because I think it got cut in half because there's a bit where Copeland or Edge at that time throws a ladder at his head and it just clonks him right there. And he's like it's one of those things where you see like spots on the mat and you're like, oh, is Balor's paint just like falling off? And they're like, oh, it's his blood. And so that was a pretty cool spot. And he had to get like 14 staples or something.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Edge looked like a dork.
He is like 52 or something. Like, I think he just really wants to still look cool.
Yeah. I don't blame him. Cool. Well, I think that just about does it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, Dave, it's your pick next. Do you have any idea?
I think I was leaning towards WrestleMania 3 Hogan Andre.
Really?
Classic.
Oh, I'm excited for that one. But are we still going to do the first Dynamite next week, or are we going to do that?
Let's do the Dynamite. Get that over with.
just for
That should
fun.
be fun. Yeah. The very first Dynamite match was Cody versus Sammy Guevara.
I'm excited to see Cody Rhodes.
I know, I knew you would.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone out there for joining. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you for hanging out with us. We enjoy talking about wrestling, as you can gather.
If you have a match that you want us to review, please shout it out, because I know we pick, but if any comment,
You can pick.
Yeah, if you went, oh, you guys should talk about, oh, I don't know, Melina versus Alicia Fox. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll do whatever.
Yep. We want to know what you want to see. But yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for joining. That was fun.
Thank you for hosting.
Yeah, no problem. Shall I do the thing?
Do the thing. Do the thing.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye-bye.